I'm Mike O'Keefe with Casio. I'm here to demonstrate the FH20 digital camera from Casio. The FH20 is the latest in Casio's high-speed line of digital cameras. It's a 9-megapixel sensor which allows you to capture raw images, but what really separates it from other cameras is the fact that it can capture 40 frames per second at 7 megapixel, HD video, and also slow motion video. We have a BS button on the back of the camera that when you choose that, you can choose some unique high-speed best shots. As you use the rocker to scroll around, you can zoom in on each feature, and it'll tell you a little bit more about what the settings are going to be there. So if we zoom out, some of the ones that take advantage of the high-speed shooting are the high-speed night scene, which is going to use a couple of quick shots and superimpose them over each other to give you the best shot without needing to use a tripod or use a real long shutter speed. Some other unique ones that take advantage of the high speed are the multi-motion image, which allows you to take several images and combine them into one so that you're able to have a setting or a image similar to what they would use at the Olympics, where you can go through and have a picture of a diver leaving the diving board, falling along, and entering the water, and combine them all into one final shot. As you just saw with our hockey player, as he slid across the ice, the multiple images were captured and saved into one final shot. Digital panning, which is going to capture a couple of quick shots, overlay them, and keep the subject still but blur the background, so it'll give you that feeling of motion. One thing that can occur is by choosing those high-speed best shots, we'll go through and override some of the other features in the camera. So the camera may say that it would say invalid record mode. If that happens, it's just because the setting that you choose is overriding whatever the feature is that you've got it set for. Doesn't mean that you can't take pictures. It just means that if you're doing a single shot and put in a best shot that's going to capture multiple images, it's letting you know that the record mode you've got it set for isn't what's going to happen. On the dial, we've also got the high-speed mode, which allows you to capture slow motion video. Choosing this, if you go down to on your menu, you've got the option for 210, 420, or 1,000 frames per second. You also have a 30 to 210. So each of those is going to slow down more and more and allow the naked eye to see things that normally it couldn't. If you do the 30 to 210, it will allow you to record at normal speed, and each time you press the set button, it's going to go through and slow everything down. So you can kind of have a little bit more fun with your videos by recording at a normal speed until something interesting's happening, and then you can capture that slow motion. Finally, on the dial, if you turn it to a regular video mode, it's going to give you the option for high definition or standard video, so 720p or 640 by 480. And this will allow you to basically replace your camcorder by being able to capture high definition video. We don't. Okay. Two options that you have with video are to either have the optical zoom on and not record sound, or have the zoom off and you get sound. And that's just a simple setting in the menu that you're choosing. This is basically because of the extending lens. If you were to zoom while you were recording, it would pick up the sound of the lens moving and may ruin it. But if you were doing a wedding, it's going to be stationary, so you can just sit there and have the camera in one place, have the sound on. If you were at a baseball game or a football game, you're probably just going to pick up the sound of the crowds anyway, so you've got that option to zoom but not have the sound. In the high definition mode, you can capture up to about 18 minutes of video on a 4 gigabyte memory card. If you set that for standard video, you're able to capture approximately 55 minutes on that same 4 gig memory card. The camera features a 26mm to 520mm equivalent lens, which gives it a 20 times optical zoom, has a CMOS shift sensor stabilization. On the side, we've got a auto exposure lock and also the macro mode, which can take it down to a 1 centimeter focus. We have a pop-up flash. The camera can use SD or SDHC memory cards, uses AA batteries. It has a battery life of approximately 420 still images to a charge, and has a large 3-inch super clear LCD, which allows you to be able to see it outdoors. It has 1,000 candelas brightness and 1,000:1 contrast ratio, so it's basically one of the easiest to see outdoors. Now we have a simple drop-down menu down the side, allows you to quickly access most of the things that you're frequently going to access. Set the dial on top to the standard little square for taking single shot images. To make manual control adjustments, if we press on the rocker and select at the top, make a change from the auto, you can set it for aperture, shutter, or full manual control. If we set it for the full manual, press the set button to access it. You've got your aperture that's highlighted in green. If you go left and right on the rocker, you can make adjustments to the aperture controls. And if we press the set button, it's going to drop down to the shutter speed controls. So again, left and right will make changes in there. If you decide you want to make another change, set jumps you right back up to the aperture. Now what's nice is that if you go through and make shutter speed adjustments or ISO adjustments and then turn it to the slow motion mode, those settings are still attached to the video. So instead of just doing 210 frames per second, it's 210 frames with a shutter speed of 1/2000th of a second. This would allow you to be able to capture more stop action type photography because you'd be able to get a faster shutter speed and be able to eliminate blur in the picture. By turning the dial to the lightning bolt, it's going to give you a rapid flash mode. This allows you to capture up to 5 frames per second for a total of 10 shots with the flash firing each time. When we access the menu under the flash continuous shutter, we're able to set it for up to 5 frames per second and then set it for a total of 10 frames. If we turn the dial to the 1 to 40 mode, you can see how the options change to select your 40 frames per second, or up to 40 frames per second. Now, Casio also looks at these things and says, well, what else can we make it do? So we've gone through and created a pre-record mode. Just below the 40 frames per second, you can set the camera to either record for no time beforehand, or easily set it to the pre-record section and it capture up to half a second before the shutter is actually pressed. For this mode, what you're going to do is, again, do the half click on the shutter to start the buffer running. By the LCD or the viewfinder, there's going to be a little green light that's going to start flashing. That's just letting you know that it's pre-recording. So as long as you keep the shutter half depressed, it's going to keep flashing green. And all we need to do is, when the action finally happens that you want, fully press the shutter and you'll capture the things that you normally would have missed. Each time that you go to save an image or take a burst of images, it's going to give you the option to save everything, save selected, or just cancel in case you didn't get anything you wanted to. If you go to save selected, it's going to scroll through all of the images, kind of like a film strip. Every time you press the shutter, it's going to put a little red tick mark above the shots that you're wanting to save. Then you can again save selected, and it's only going to save those 2 or 3 images instead of saving all 40. This was the Casio EX FH20 training video, showing you a little bit about the features of the new high-speed camera from Casio.